Hi, friends. We are here with a pretty amazing episode, if I do say so myself, with Dr. Nicole Cain. We're going to talk to you about sex and stress and how sex is like the number one thing getting in the way of so many people's sex lives. And Dr. Nicole has written an amazing book that's going to help us fix that. So I'm very excited. Hopefully you guys are excited. So officially, here we go. Dr. Cain, ND, MA, author of acclaimed book, Panic Proof, is a leading expert in trauma-informed and integrative approaches for mental and emotional wellness. With a degree in clinical psychotherapy, training in EMDR, and a license as a naturopathic physician in the state of Arizona, her approach to mental health is multidisciplinary, medical, psychological, and holistic. So welcome, Dr. Nicole Cain. Thank you for being here.
I'm delighted to be here. We're going to have the best conversation.
I know. We already were starting to have fun. And then I was like, wait, don't say anything good. We have to record. So here we are with all of you. But yeah, so Dr. Nicole was kind enough to send me a copy of her book, Panic Proof, and it's great. Like I opened it and I was like, oh, this is great. There's like little workbook sections in there. It's very sort of like action oriented, really explains like the problems, but then also is very like solution focused and very holistic. And I don't know if you know, but I did like a holistic health coach certification, and I wrote like a chapter in a textbook on like nutritional strategies for mental health. And so I love this like mind, body, spirit stuff.
Yeah.
At one point I even thought about becoming a naturopath. So I think it's very cool that you've kind of combined everything.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to start, like, how did you wind up on this path of this kind of holistic wellness journey and with the focus on mental health?
Usually we always say it's kind of cliche to say is that we're wounded healers, but oh my gosh, that it was totally my story. I grew up in a family system that was really stressful, and we had just generation after generation of trauma. And the way that I adapted to all of that is to become hyper vigilant and to try to control my environment. And my body adapted in ways to help me be hyper vigilant. So more cortisol. So just base level stress higher. And I was really good at the psychology piece. I was awesome at helping regulate my parents' moods. Like, I see a little change in dad's facial expression. I know that means he's frustrated. So little Nicole could be like silly or tell a joke or be really cute or even something to regulate him. And often maybe you've heard the quote, like, people pleasers are really parent pleasers. And I was a people pleaser.
Like where else would it come from, right?
Right? Seriously. Yeah. So I went and I got a counseling degree, and counseling, at least in the early 2000s, was really top-down focused.
Yeah.
Where you think about it, analyze it, and then you try to convince your body that it isn't feeling depressed or restless or anxious or even in pain. And so it's like a very analytical approach.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't always work. And, you know, for your listeners, you may be getting ready to go on a really hot date and you're hoping that it may turn into something, but your heart is pounding and you're nervous and your brain is blank.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you tell yourself, calm down, it's fine, your body's like, oh no, there's a tiger coming. We got you. And
right. I'm prepared for all attacks.
I am prepared for all attacks, welcome and unwelcome. And so it just wasn't enough. And I found that working with my clients that I wanted to treat the whole person. I was really excited about the gut-brain axis, immune system and mental health, which is a whole branch, psychoneuroimmunology. I loved all of that. So I obtained my naturopathic medical degree and became the expert that people came to for anxiety. So not only have I experienced a ton of anxiety, is now I'm helping people heal from anxiety. And I'm like, use this supplement, take this medication, do this mantra, take this herb, get this acupuncture, like all the things. And I was really, really good at figuring out all the things until
Okay.
Which is often the story. It's like where the hero's journey, if you will, where, you know, you reach, what is it, the Eye of Sauron in the Lord of the Rings, and it's like flames and lava, and it's like, blah. It's like that Elmo on fire meme. Have you seen that? It's like, he's like, his Elmo arms are in the air.
For those of you guys who can't see, she's gesturing wildly. It's fun.
So it's like the shit hits the fan. Yeah. I stop sleeping. I lose so much weight. I stop having a period. I'm panicking. My body's on fire. And I'm taking all the supplements and spending money on the massage and the chiropractic. And
girl, don't get me started on the amount of money I've spent.
Oh my God. All the money. I was like, take
and all the wellness things. Yes.
All the wellness
things. So many
things.
Thousands of dollars. Yes.
Gone. And it didn't work. And I was like, what a cruel irony that people come to me from around the world for help with a problem that I can't even solve in myself. And that was really awful. And I wouldn't wish anyone to go through that. However, having gone through that, and I live in Phoenix, so it's like the metaphorical Phoenix burning to ashes, is I came out of that on the other side with a giant discovery. And the discovery was what changed my life, what changed my practice. And science is proving that it is correct. At least it's moving in that direction. And what I discovered is that our anxiety, our symptoms are not the problems. And that in fact, our anxiety, our symptoms are the body's attempts at telling you what the problem is and how to heal it.
100%.
Yeah. So that changed everything. Changes the question, changes the why, changes the relationship with our bodies, our relationship with our people. And I am here talking to you because I love nothing better than talking about what this could be like for people.
That's so cool. And I mean, hearing you share about your story, first of all, I relate so much. Like I've had, continue to have chronic random health symptoms that like don't neatly fall into a category, and it's exhausting. And from talking to clients, I do seem to attract some people who are also in that camp. And I think even just the average person, you know, when I think about the average person I'm working with, they're stressed. You know, they're so busy. They're working so much. They have a long commute. They have little kids. They have an aging parent they're taking care of. They're, you know, trying to solve their sex life like they solve all their other problems and communicate to their partner, and no one's told them how to do it, you know, and it's just a lot. Like sometimes it's a really tall order. And so I think that's kind of my first question is like, if someone realizes, okay, I'm basically living in fight or flight, I recognize this because most of my clients are pretty smart too. So it's like, they're pretty self-aware people. So like, I see this, I just don't know what to do about it. Like, how do you even get enough headspace, I guess, to know the path forward?
Yeah. I feel like you just volleyed me up for the next part of my story. So thank you for that question. It's so good.
I try.
What is the obstacle to cure? And so sometimes the obstacle to cure is a jobectomy. Sometimes it's a relationshipectomy. Sometimes it's habits. Sometimes it's past trauma. Sometimes it's diet, lifestyle, environmental toxicity. Sometimes it's soul sickness. And so the question that you ask is what do we need to do in order to have that space to step back and really look at our symptoms and say, what are you trying to tell me needs healing and how? And I think for each of us, the answer is going to be a little bit different. And I can tell you, for me, I was on one end of the extreme. I'm like Enneagram. I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagram.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So so there's 9 approximate numbers, and it shows us how we adapt to trauma and stress. And I identify as a 3 on the Enneagram. And so one of the ways I adapt to trauma and stress.
Is that the achiever?
Girl, yes, it is. So achieving. So I was like, oh, I feel unloved as a child. I feel like I don't have value. I feel nervous and afraid. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to achieve all the things. I'm going to get a master's degree. I'm going to go to medical school. I'm going to be at the top of my class. I'm going to do a residency. Oh, and I'm going to teach. And I'm going to redesign the curriculum while I'm at it. And I'm going to do conferences. And I'm going to do online courses. Right. And I'm going to see patients, but I'm not going to see any patient. I'm going to work with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder because that's the
the really easy ones.
Yeah. So I'm like
perfect.
Pushing. I'm like marathon running up a hill. And there was this joy and this excitement and this youthfulness about it, but there was also an adaptation to leaning into the stress that was so familiar. You know, they say all our life's a stage, and each of our circumstances is we're recreating what we're trying to heal, what we're playing out. You just had different actors on stage. And so I was replaying out the trying to feel worthwhile and feel valuable. And it burned me out. And so I had to take as big of an adjustment as my, full speed. I had to full speed the other direction. So I ended up having to sell my half of my company, and I left Arizona and I moved across the country. And not everybody has the luxury to do that. Not everybody has the desire, the need to do that. But for me, I had to do like a full on Control-Alt-Delete, a pattern reset.
That's very brave. Like to just kind of like shake the snow globe of your life up, and be like, hopefully this works,
I love that you said that, because I have this, like, I make glitter jars with my clients.
Oh my God, she's shaking a glitter jar now, everyone. That was so perfect.
Yeah, it's like your snow globe, but with glitter. Sometimes you have to shake it up, because if you're just like, well, I really just want to have a better orgasm, so can I take arginine for that? Well, it's like, well, what is getting in the way of you having the most delicious, fulfilling, wonderful orgasms? What is that symptom trying to communicate to you? And then how do we reverse engineer what that is? So you were asking about that very first step, which is how to create the space. So one really practical thing that we're hearing everywhere on social media is the paradox is that we need to reduce our screens, our phones, our distractions.
It is so ironic that we hear this on social media. So it's like, please stay sucked into the algorithm. But while you're on here, we're going to tell you how bad it is to be on here. But we're going to still keep you addicted.
And please keep following my page so I can tell you about how all of this is really,
Okay.
The paradox is real.
We're recognizing that.
Yeah. We're not in denial.
But yeah, you're right. Everyone's addicted to their phone. Probably at least half the people are addicted to social media, and it's not always making people feel very good.
Right. And then when we think about sex and connection and pleasure, is we know that oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and prolactin, adrenaline, all play a really important neurochemical role in that. And when we're constantly inputting data into our brains and bodies, whether that is interoception, which is our body screening what's happening inside, but also what's coming into our senses from the environment, you have a whole group of parts of your brain. They're called the salience network. The salience network has to figure out if that incoming data is relevant or irrelevant. And then if it is overwhelmed by that incoming data, it's going to send a chemical signal to your amygdala and just be like, we don't know if this is relevant or not, just in case. Amygdala, you take it. Your emotional processing amygdala is like, holy crap, I'm overwhelmed. We're going to send the cavalcade into fight, flight, freeze. So now we have this high cortisol. Yeah. And it's just this baseline sympathetic activation, and we're stressed all the time. So one of the biggest things we can do is to identify opportunities to reduce the stimulation that's coming into our nervous systems.
Yes. I like that. I like where you're going with this. And, speaking of social media, I got off Instagram. I have someone else who posts for me. I can't have it on my phone. I'm like, I'm not enjoying it. And I think for me, kind of mindfulness and just noticing and tuning in. Sometimes I'll be watching trash TV like The Bachelorette, and I'm like, oh, but I'm feeling really happy and I have a smile on my face and I'm actually like getting something from this. So I'm going to allow it. But other things that might be like, I'm feeling like shit, even though I'm like on Instagram reading all these things about wellness and sex and whatever. I'm like, I'm comparing myself to colleagues and I'm thinking, why haven't I done this? And I'm like, this is not doing anything helpful for me, even if it should in theory, because I've curated my feed well. And so I'm just going to get off. I'm just going to, but it's hard. It's hard as a business owner. There's always reasons, right? There's reasons why it's like, oh, but I need it because of this. Oh, but I need it because of that. It's like, but do you?
Yeah. And then we get withdrawal. Like the withdrawal is real. And so if our body is always trying to create homeostasis. And so if the body and the nervous system is used to a certain level and certain type of stimulatory input.
Interesting.
When we take that away, then we go through withdrawal. We may feel depressed and we may feel unmotivated and lonely. I see loneliness is a big thing. Is like I get on a lot of my clients, they'll turn on the TV and get on their Instagram. And so it just feels like that stimuli feels comfortable. It feels like I'm not alone in this world.
Yeah. And I think that's real. And I think that part of, what allowed me to get off of Instagram was realizing this is not actually meeting my need for connection. You know, like, so it's nice to keep in touch with certain colleagues and stuff on there, but I'm like, if they're important to keep in touch with them, we'll do it anyways, you know? And I think realizing with social connection, then maybe I spend less time on Instagram, but I'm, taking an improv class and I'm starting to like kayak and find buddies to actually go be with in person, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love what you said, meet my needs, because oftentimes there may be an unmet need to be really seen. For touch, they say we should be touched, we should be hugged 12 times a day. We know that from neonatal studies, like babies that get touched have a better life expectancy in the neonatal unit. And so what I love that you're saying is, okay, I have this urge to get on Instagram, but then I feel yucky. Right. And so if I take that away, I also feel yucky. I'm in withdrawal. So this is data.
Actually felt great.
You're like, actually it was so much better.
I was just like, sigh of relief.
You're like,
but you might feel yucky. Everyone's different. Yeah.
At first, maybe if you've been on it for a lot, or if you're listening and you have kids and you're like, actually, we're going to audit your screens. And then you have so many more tantrums because they're literally going through withdrawal. But I love that unmet need piece. So it's like, we're not just trying to take things away, but what can we add that addresses that need? So you did stand up and you've been going out like doing kayaking.
So I've been taking improv classes. That's very addictive and everyone's so nice and fun and creative there. And then I just got a stand-up paddleboard, and so I'm starting to figure out like where can I go, and there's some like group outings. I'm like, okay, when do I go to the next group thing and meet some other nature loving people,
So you're giving yourself more coherence. Like we talk a lot about heart coherence, and they say the closer we are to nature, the closer we are to health, and the farther we are from nature, the farther we are from health. So you're going and you're amongst people, you're using your body, you're going into nature, and so then that puts us more into a flexible sort of coherent space. And I kind of think about it like I'm kind of doing this like loosey-goosey sort of gesture in the video. It's like your arms are flowing and your heart is flowing. It's like a yoga body and energetically, versus like the guard outside of the British castle, whatever the guard. They're the opposite, or like a Marine, they're really out of coherence. Their heart is like a metronome. Their muscles are tense and stiff. They're more of in a sympathetic state of activation. And so what I love is that you noticed, okay, what are some of my unmet needs? And you were drawn to connection and nature.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh. And play. I think with the improv stuff, there's like playfulness and creativity too. Yeah.
Play is so important. And absurdity. There's a whole branch of psychology about absurdity.
I actually didn't know that. What is that called?
I think it's called absurdist psychology, but your listeners will tell us, I'm sure.
Well, I think so. Okay. That sounds great.
I have a friend who's a Jungian, and so he loves to study psychodynamic psychotherapy. and he studies Carl Jung, and he's all into absurdist psychotherapy. So one day he went out to dinner and he just wore like a big gigantor poofy wig and noticed how people interacted with him differently and how he felt different. And it was like, it put him out of his comfort zone, and it felt like kind of silly and weird.
Right.
And it was a net positive effect for his psychology, is adding a little absurdism. So maybe like people could get a little weird. Like, try to incorporate some weird.
I like that for people, because I think that dovetails well with sex, right? It's like you getting a little bit less censored, allowing yourself to like not look perfect, embracing some awkwardness. You know, a lot of times people are like, oh, but it's so awkward. And I'm kind of like, I'm not going to eliminate the awkwardness for you. Like, I'm not going to even try to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the opposite of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Did you ever see that?
I did watch a couple seasons of that, yeah.
So for those who haven't seen it, it's this woman, and she's the main protagonist. And there's this scene that I'm thinking about where her husband and her get into bed, and she's got like full makeup. Her hair's perfect.
Yes.
He falls asleep. And then she gets up and does her nighttime routine and like cleans her face, takes her makeup off, does her hairpins. And then she gets up in the morning and she does her whole toilet routine in the morning, gets back in bed looking perfect. And so what I'm encouraging in this is, well, do the opposite, is be like, what would it be like? Or maybe even just kind of imagining to be a little bit less perfect or a little bit less normal, if you will. It's like, how can we be a little bit more silly?
And that's intimacy, you know, like letting someone see who you actually are, you know, maybe without makeup, maybe when you're being a total goofball, you know, maybe when you're like, oh, I'm just so weird, but here we go.
Yeah. Weird is fun.
Okay. So these are some very good ideas to get people just, you know, a little bit more relaxed. I think even talking about these types of things is just bringing some like lighthearted energy into your life so that it's like, it doesn't all have to be that serious.
Yeah. Because so if we go into it, so there's this thing in medicine we call for orgasm is we say point and shoot. And so that helps us. Yeah. So point is parasympathetic. Okay. And then shoot is sympathetic. So point and shoot is the order, the sequence, so that we can have a beautiful sexual experience and then a completion. And so oftentimes when we are running around at that high level of stress because we're being overstimulated by good things or bad things, maybe we're like pedal to the metal and we just don't stop, can't stop, won't stop. And biologically, it's almost the identical chemical cascade that happens when we're running from a tiger versus when we're really excited, like riding a jet ski or something. And so what can happen is if you're at a level of activation and you're a little bit more sympathetic, you're at the S part of point and shoot, is that people will then struggle to climax. People will struggle for arousal. Women will struggle with lubrication. Men may struggle with attaining an orgasm. So what we want to do is we want to start in parasympathetic. And that's the beauty of foreplay. That's the beauty of relaxing into it, you know, like putting some Ayurvedically balanced oils on your skin.
I did see some Ayurveda stuff in your book. I was like, ooh.
I love it. We could totally dive into Ayurvedic foreplay.
I didn't know there was Ayurvedic specific foreplay. So tell people what Ayurveda is, and then let's get into it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So Ayurveda precedes traditional Chinese medicine. It's been around forever. Traditional Chinese medicine, for those who are like, hold up, what is that? Is like acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And so the wisdom that is traditional, or TCM, is way predated by Ayurveda. It comes out of India, and it's a philosophy where they understand health and wellness. And they say that the goal is to be in a state of balance. And I kind of think of that like vital and resilient. I'm standing on the top of a mountain, the wind is blowing, but I'm steady. That's in a state of balance. And in Ayurveda, they say we can go out of balance in 3 main different ways. And they are described as your doshas. And they are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And so I have a free quiz for this, which if you go to my website, drnicolecain.com, and type in the word dosha, Dosha, you can take the free quiz. And what that will tell you is if you're in a state of balance, which would be amazing. I'm not. I'm like out of balance towards Vata all the time. And so Vata is more airy. It's like your head's in the clouds. You're more like ADHD or anxious or distractible, or it's like, what was I going to say? Vata tends to, in the body, you may feel more gassy or more bloated, or you might burp a lot if you
the airy quality. Yeah,
it's totally airy quality. And so somebody who's struggling with a libido, like their libido is really low, or maybe they experience a lot of gassiness when they're trying to get aroused, like it goes to their gut, they get arousal. Those are Vata symptoms. And so foreplay for Vata would be maybe doing like a warm stone massage. And so like get some warm stones, massage your partner, maybe use some like warming oils. So like, what would like, do you have a favorite warming oil? So I'm thinking of like a seed oil.
I know Foria has some kind of like arousal oil things. Yeah.
I love that. So something that's warming, and you can even put like a little dash of like a warm herb or an essential oil, like maybe a little dash of cinnamon or a little dash.
Tiny bit,
just like
I think Foria has some of that in there already, so it's like properly diluted.
Oh my gosh, so it doesn't burn, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so like a nice massage and like grounding music, and like you may do foreplay on the ground, like a fuzzy blanket, like relaxing and all that, right?
Now I'm almost thinking of like a shamanic drum music thing that would be like kind of lower tones and very like bass notes that would be very grounding. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so then that gets them into that point, that parasympathetic kind of foreplay, like this is so safe and so grounding and so relaxing and so pleasurable. So that they have that room for that wonderful slide up into sympathetic. Now, another way that we could go out of balance that would look really differently would be Pitta. And Pitta is fire. Pitta is fast, hard, fire. And so this is Arya in my book. I write about her. And so Arya was on a date, and she's a composite of women that I've worked with who struggled with this.
Okay.
So she was on a date, and she took an Adderall before the date because that helped her get more activated. But she's kind of a Pitta, so she's already activated and fiery. And then she's drinking a bunch of champagne, and she goes up to the room with this guy, and it's really hot, really heavy, really exciting. But then right at the moment of climax, she has a horrible panic attack. It's so severe. She's dissociated. And she's just like,
horrible.
Oh my God, it was so horrible. She ends up running through the hotel, and a woman takes her out of the hotel lobby and like puts a coat on her and puts her in the bathroom. So
like she ran out naked?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Yeah. That's like a serious panic attack.
This is why it's important to stay balanced, people. Be proactive.
Stay balanced. So what would have been better for her is if she hadn't taken a stimulant, because she was already sympathetic. She was already activated.
Yeah.
And activating her more made her worse, as opposed to making it more exciting and fun. For her, it was not bueno. Kapha might have done better with that. We'll come to that in a minute.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So what she probably would have benefited from is like maybe taking a sexy swim in a pool, like putting on a cute little bikini and like going in for a dip outside, and maybe having hot toddies if they needed alcohol. But I think you can have a great party without alcohol. So like maybe a warm beverage and or with a, never mind, Pitta, cooling beverage. So like iced beverage. Forgive me, I totally said that wrong.
No, that makes sense. So the water's kind of cooling the fire. The coldness is cooling the fires. Okay.
But it could be very
so we're
sexy.
Creating balance that way.
We're creating balance. And then like a coconut oil or something like that, peppermint.
Okay.
So that would have been better for her so that she could get down a little bit more relaxed, but excited, butterflies. And so then we have the last one, which is Kapha, which I was thinking ahead as I was talking. I got ahead of myself. Kapha is mud. It's like cold and damp. Okay. So these are all y'all who are listening that maybe you're perimenopausal and you just feel burned out. And you just feel like, I used to do all the things, and now I just like, I have no energy. I'm gaining weight. Yep. I'm lethargic. This is
like all of my friends right now.
Yeah. We're all so Kapha, right? We're like, oh, I need an Adderall or coffee. Like I'm on so much green tea
craving
today.
Energy. Yeah.
Craving energy. So the environment for Arya might have been a little better for a Kapha because they're already too sluggish. So going to a lively club, having that like jazz music or something more exciting.
Yes. Or like a coffee drink or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coffee drink. Yeah. And herbs. There are awesome herbs that can be really stimulating. And so I'm thinking about shatavari, which is a wild asparagus plant, which is not the same thing as the food asparagus. This is different. Okay. And shatavari is like the ashwagandha is for men. Shatavari is for women. Oh. It's an aphrodisiac. It's so good for balancing hormones. It's amazing for libido, endurance, energy. I think they call it like the flying spirit herb because it can just lift us up when we feel like we're heavy.
Yeah. And so why is ashwagandha more for men and shatavari is more for women?
You know, herbs have affinities. And so they all have their own little personalities and their own little affinities. And one thing with ashwagandha that I am wary of with some women is if you have androgen dominance. So women who have maybe polycystic ovarian syndrome where they have a little bit higher testosterone levels. Some limited evidence suggests that it could make their androgens a little higher and they get acne or they get irritable. And so that's great for men to have a little bit of that testosterone boosting generally. Okay. But shatavari, I love shatavari.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sensing the passion for this herb.
I have this like great libido blend that I make for women. And it just fills my heart so much because I don't know if this is anything that you've dealt with, is that women who are sexually vivacious or oftentimes women that they're just like free with their sexuality. I feel like we've been come down on a lot over history, especially in my culture. Is I grew up very Dutch and very Lutheran.
Oh, interesting.
And so being a sexual woman is like very stigmatized. Yes. And so then having a solution that can honor freedom and identity as a sexually vibrant being with counseling and with the right relationships, but also plants that can work on a physical and an energetic level that just opens us up. I've seen women, their lives are transformed. And that's one of my plants that I love to do that with.
That's incredible. And I mean, I think as much as I'm like not a person that's like, just take a pill, I think there's a time and a place for it. And especially if it's a curated option that's fitting with, your system and what's going on for you right now. I think that can be a great place to start when you are feeling stressed and when you are feeling out of balance and it is impacting your sex life, because you may not really have the energy and the bandwidth for much more than that. But maybe doing that one step will get you more bandwidth.
Exactly. It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about like what's one thing that we could remove that's getting in our way, or what's one thing that we can add that might give us a little bit of encouragement to then take the next step and the next.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to run a scenario by you that's just a common one I get from my clients, because I think people listening will relate to it too. A lot of times people will feel like, well, I like my partner and like I want to have sex with them. Like it's important to me. They probably wouldn't have hired me if it wasn't. And, but they're feeling like, I just got to like run the household and I got to do all this, I got to do that. And like they kind of have a hard time like switching modes, from that like go mode into sex mode. So you mentioned kind of like the stone massage. That seems like a really nice segue that I think people could figure out at home. But like, what would be some other ways for people to shift gears that's like realistic?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about what is the root of it. So, for example, my busyness, when I was like pedal to the metal, Phoenix burning kind of girl, I was working so hard and so stressed that I wasn't making time to be with my partner. I was saying yes to these things, and I had to say no to him. And so instead of starting in my mind kind of downstream and like pulling people out of the river and saying like, okay, here's what we need you to do, is what's happening upstream that is causing you to then jump in the river, so that we have to change your habits to pull you out. So for me, it went back to my inner child and younger parts that felt their unmet needs were feeling love, connection, safety. And so I was responding in tune to that. And then our body will create adaptive mechanisms to hold us in that state. So here's like an example how that can play out. And there's a lot of inroads for your clients depending on that. And then we'll break it down and make it more simple.
Okay, cool.
We'll start complex, make it simple.
Okay.
So if you have been working really hard and your body is trying to help you have the energy to work really hard, it's going to make adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol suppresses inflammation as well as many other things it does. It will also speed up your heart. It'll increase blood pressure. It will cause glucose to become available in your bloodstream. And so now you have chronically high cortisol. With suppression of inflammation, now the gut microbiome, which is the seat of your immune system, has been suppressed because inflammation is suppressed. And so now opportunistic infections are able to get in and kind of make a home there.
We don't like that.
So we don't like that.
No.
So that's why if you're listening and you're like, every time I go on vacation, I get some sort of cold or flu, it's because your cortisol is reducing and now your inflammation can go back up, right? So now let's say you've been stressed for a minute and your inflammation has been largely suppressed. Now you have all these opportunistic infections and they are making a home. And these bugs or yeast or parasites, whatever it is, they have their own thoughts, feelings, and cravings. So they send signals up your nervous system. Yeah. And they tell the brain, we want sugar. We want fat. We want
I definitely
salt.
have some of those sugar ones.
Your sugar ones are like, Dr. Cain, stop. Don't rat us out. So then you eat that. You're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm craving that. You eat it. Feeds more of those bugs. So now we have dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in your microbiome. And your microbiome is making your hormones. And so now we have women who have menstrual irregularities or they go into menopause and they have estrogen dominance because they have E. coli or Clostridia that are reactivating estrogen as it's trying to be detoxed. And then we get inflammation in the wall of the gut. And so now we get what's colloquially referred to as leaky gut. And then, so now pathogens and inflammatory cells are leaking into the bloodstream, and now they're getting up into the area of the brain. They're irritating the blood-brain barrier, leaky gut, leaky brain. So now we have inflammatory cells that are getting into the brain. The brain gets inflamed. The microglia in the brain are like, oh my gosh, we're inflamed. And then that sends a danger signal. And then the body produces more cortisol. So now you have this feedback loop that all started with being stressed and doing all the things. So, and that's just one example. We could go into insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome.
I'm like, does anyone have a good microbiome these days? Like, I don't know anyone who does.
Probably not in the US.
Right. Like, so how do we even address that? Like, well, how do you work with people when you're like, okay, you definitely have some gut issues that are throwing your hormones out of whack and your neurotransmitters and all the things that affect your stress and your sex life?
Right. So here are, let's make it really doable and practical. So one thing you can do is eat more fiber. Okay. Fiber increases the good butyrate producing bacteria. Nice. And if we can make more of those, it's going to crowd out the rebel rousers that are wreaking havoc. So eat more fiber. So this would be like veggies. So people love juicing, but then you're juicing out all the fiber.
They do. Yes.
So instead of juicing, eat veggies. Chew them. Like if you can't chew it, you're probably not getting in the fiber. So
got it. Okay.
Wild grain rice, all of that. So fiber.
That's doable. Yeah.
Totally doable. Have fiber every day. And then I think a really good second thing would be, what can you do to regulate your stress? And so the research shows that 5 minutes a day can make a statistically significant change in the brain in terms of inflammation, neuroplasticity. And so 5 minutes a day. And I love the idea of co-meditating, is if you can sit down with your partner and meditate with them. Okay. And my husband and I do that. And you can even make it sexy. Nice. Like, we don't even have to have sex, but we're going to meditate together wrapped in a blanket naked. And we're just going to like
so cute.
be in that space. And we all have 5 minutes. And
we really do. Yeah. It's hard to argue against the 5 minutes. I will say, though, it's interesting because I don't have kids, but I have nephews. And so when I've like babysat them for a whole weekend or when we're on a trip together, it's like you have to be so intentional. Yeah. If you have kids around with your time. And like, I really think you have to get ahead of it and be like, I will be carving out this time. And so I will then arrange for that time to be carved out and the kids will be taken care of in whatever way, or they will be sleeping or whatever. But it's kind of like, if you don't carve it out, the day will not make that happen for you. You have to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's having that boundary and like actually like fully committing, like take off your clothes. We're going to go and do our burrito meditation. And
I love that name.
I guarantee you, like most of your at least your male oriented partners will be like, okay. Yeah. I'll be here for it.
I love that idea. I think it's a nice way to like create togetherness. And I like what you said, that doesn't always have to lead to sex, you know, because so many people that I work with kind of have a feeling of like, oh, I have the low libido. My partner always wants sex and I feel like this pressure and I feel like I'm letting them down. I know this is an important need for them and all the things. But like, what if you could still have some closeness, some physicality, some intimacy, but it didn't always have to lead to like intercourse or anything that feels like labor intensive for you in that moment?
Yeah. And after doing that again and again and again, this leads to the work of Emily Nagoski, who wrote the book Come As You Are.
Yes.
And she talks about accelerator versus brakes.
Right.
And so for those people who are listening to this conversation, and it's like, it just their Kapha, right? So it like takes me a lot to get going and to get interested because I'm so tired and just I have no libido, is that those frequent, like every day, 5 minute naked snuggle times, that over time may have an accumulated benefit so then it will be easier and more interesting to them. So that's if their accelerator just isn't very sensitive and they need more of that contact time. So I love that idea.
Yeah, when I'm kind of working on my nervous system, and I'd love to actually get your take more on just nervous system regulation in general. It feels like such a like buzzworthy topic lately. I feel like it's kind of gaining a lot of interest. But what I'm learning is, just sort of that repetitive, consistent, calming, short bouts of time, you know, but again, consistent can really seem to make a difference. What do you find to be something that kind of helps people regulate their nervous system? What's like the best bang for their buck?
Yeah, I do it in 4 steps, and all 4 steps in order are really important. Okay. And a lot of people like to pick and choose, and then they're frustrated that it doesn't work.
Don't do it. Do all 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do all 4. It's kind of like if your car breaks down, you want to fix the engine and the tires and the spark plugs. Like, don't just fix one part. Right. Fix them all.
Okay. That's a good point.
So, and this is bottom up. So earlier we were talking about top down, which is where we're trying to talk ourselves out of feeling anxious or talk ourselves into feeling aroused. What we're starting with instead is we're going to start with the body and we're going to work our way up. Instead of top down, we're going to go bottom up. So the first step is that when a body is activated and a body is aroused, it's in sympathetic. Instead of point and shoot, we're just in S. And so we want to calm the body. And so the ways that we have found clinically that work the best for that is touch and smell, taste, temperature, and stimuli or scene. So
I love all of that.
All of it. It's like the hot shower, the cold swim in the pool. This is one of those microwavable beanbag things that you can put over your shoulders. It's like grounding. It's doing like a eucalyptus scrub if you're just like hot and bothered, and like like you can get like a little sugar scrub and add coconut and then drop a eucalyptus. And
I love all of these because it's like also great for your sex life. It gets you out of your head, into your body, and in touch with your senses, which puts you in the present moment. So it's like win, 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 win.
Yes. All of that. So this is so good. You'll take this and run with this. So all of the senses and like getting into your body, making it really delicious and kind of sensual and wonderful. All the senses, touch instead of going straight for the erogenous zones, like touch, like self-touch, the face, the neck, the shoulders, down the arms, self-massage, massage your partner, whatever feels good. And then the second is then we want to, now that we're in our body, is we want to then reprogram our associations. So for some of us, being sexual feels vulnerable. It feels unsafe. And so what we want to do now that we've calmed the body is we want to intentionally create new synaptic pathways to the logical brain to tell us that we're safe. So that when we become calm, that the body's not going to perceive that calmness as, we got to get aroused again. We got to get out of danger.
Okay.
So ways to do that. So ways to, if you're noticing that you're trying to be intimate with a partner, you did all the massage, you're feeling more calm, but then your brain starts to spin like, what if he thinks I smell? Or what if she isn't impressed by my performance or whatever? Is really you want to do just like basic mental math. And I know it sounds wild, but the more you overthink it, the less it's going to feel really good and natural and wonderful. And so you might find yourself like count from 40 to 0 by twos. And
just some boring in your
body.
Step boring 3, boring shit.
Yes. And then you might say your ABCs in your head, or you may like take your birthday and say it backwards, like any just like find what works for you, or name all your favorite football teams, or this alphabetical sing the 50 nifty United States song in your head.
So just like a basic mental task.
It's a basic mental task. And so what this is doing is this is pairing the emotional state of vulnerability with being able to connect with your logical brain. And so especially for those who get thought anxiety and performance anxiety, is just connect your prefrontal cortex, because the stronger those connections will be, the more you're going to have control. Because a lot of us, we just dissociate into default mode network, or we ruminate and we get hyper conscious about everything, and then we can't.
I have a lot of those people.
So then step 3. So now we've calmed the body, we've gotten in the body, we've kept our brain online by doing just basic mental puzzles, and now we want to bridge the gap between mind and body. So this is presence in the body. This is noticing. Like, this is what I feel in my feet. This is what I feel in my lips. This is what I feel in my head, is maybe even just body scan from head to toe without a need to change it. So I remember when I first learned this exercise, my therapist was like, okay, Nicole, I want you to scan your body from head to toe and don't do anything about it. You're just going to notice it.
So hard for people like us, I feel.
I immediately started like rotating my shoulders and like stretching my neck. She's like, you're doing something about it.
I know.
Because the minute that we try to regulate or control or fix or correct, takes us out of the moment. So it's practicing being in the body. And accepting like, ooh, maybe this feels a little weird. I can be in weird. Feels a little uncomfortable. I could just notice maybe I'm a little gassy while we're doing this thing. I just notice it. It doesn't have to throw me into a spiral. Just notice it. And then step 4, one of the most important ones. And I talked to an anxiety influencer on her podcast about this, and she's like, I don't ever get anxious anymore. I'm so good at regulating my stress. And I was like, actually, I think you need to get more anxious sometimes.
Interesting.
Because if we stay in our window of tolerance, our world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So step 4.
That's like OCD. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was the most succinct, beautiful, perfect example of that. Yes. It's exactly OCD.
Yeah.
Yes. So our world gets smaller. So the 4th step is practicing, and you said this earlier, Heather, is practicing these moments. I'm going to go into arousal, and then I'm going to pull myself out. I'm going to go into arousal, pull myself out. Yes. And you can do this in a self-pleasuring way. You can do this in partnership, or you can do this in a completely different way that has nothing to do with your libido or sex at all. This could be, for the Pittas, a cold plunge, which sounds like hell on earth to me because I'm a Vata.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah. But that would be those people that tend to be more fiery. You put yourself in the cold plunge, you're going to feel arousal, activation. It's going to be painful and yucky. And then you choose, I'm going to sit here for 45 seconds. I'm going to notice. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to regulate. And then I'm going to rescue myself. I'm going to get out in 45 seconons. Or maybe I'll do another 45 seconds after that.
That is a beautiful example, right? It's like you can handle it. There's so many layers to that. It's like there's a sense of trust. There's a sense of like, I will know when it's time to get out. I know I'm going to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that sense of trust, because having an orgasm is a very vulnerable place to be. In many ways, we lose control, right? Our body does things, our brain does things that we can't control. And so if being out of control has been wired or programmed into our body, our mind, and our nervous system as scary and dangerous, then that's going to be the reason that we have to pull you out of the downstream. We have to go upstream and figure out how you can feel activated and feel safe and in control.
Yes.
So that when you're in partnership and you're trying to celebrate your sexuality, that you can lose control in a way that is safe for you.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful closing note. So this has been amazing. Thank you for being here, first of all. And if other people listening are like, yes, I need more of what she's got, how can people find you? How can they find your book? How can they work with you?
I love it. My book is called Panic Proof, and you can find it anywhere books are sold. Yes.
I'll hold the book up. It has lots of little Post-its in it, though, right now. Panic Proof.
Oh, my goodness. I love that. And you color coordinated. Yeah. And if you like it, I would love the words of encouragement. And so leave a review. And then I hang out. I need to get off of Instagram, but presently I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, just own it. Yeah.
I own it.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Nicole Cain, and that's DrNicole and CAIN, Dr. Nicole Cain.
Excellent. We will link to your URLs in the show notes as well.
Awesome. This was so fun. This is probably one of my most favorite interviews. So thanks for hanging with me.
Thank you. What a kind thing to say. Thank you everybody for listening. We will catch you next week on Ask a Sex Therapist. Bye everybody.